To an issue about how you portray yourself in some of your public speeches.
Sure.
There have been reports, one story that made headlines about a murder victim who supposedly died in your arms in Newark one night. There are reports that there's a police report that says you were on the scene assisting, but that the victim actually died in the arms of a woman who was on the front steps. So what really happened that night?
Thank you very much for asking the question. This is unfortunately another attack by my Tea Party friend and his campaign, saying that me arriving on the scene right after a person was shot, trying to address his injuries, trying to stop him from bleeding to death, and actually, unfortunately, he fell into cardiac arrest, as the police report says, which means his heart stopped.
He died at the hospital.
Well, he was officially declared dead at the hospital, but the police report says that he had cardiac arrest at the time, which means his heart stopped. But listen to what we're arguing over. This is the kind of distraction that we have from my Tea Party opponent, trying to say, well, did he have a cardiac arrest, or was it death, or this or that? The reality is we have too much violence in all of our inner cities in New Jersey. And what's the plan that we have to stop that violence? Here's another case of gun violence in my city where I tried desperately to save somebody's life, but unfortunately they died. A result, as we see in Newark, of so many weapons pouring from out of state into our state. You heard very clearly. I believe that these gun shows should have background checks. My opponent doesn't think you should have background checks to stop criminals from getting guns in the first place.
But this whole issue really goes to not about where he physically died, but about how you portray yourself in stories and speeches to the public as you go around the country, to your alma mater, to other places. There's another story about a character named T-Bone, who you've reportedly admitted was in fact a composite of people,
Sir,
a man who supposedly
actually, that's
your
not
life.
true.
So here's your chance to set the record straight, and also to tell us whether it gets to the core of whether you're embellishing stories to prop yourself up.
Absolutely. So again, we have police on the scene that corroborated everything I said in the first story. We actually have my former opponent, Sharp James's police director, who's not part of my team, that confirmed that there was indeed a T-bone, and this was a common name during the time that I was living in one of the most dangerous areas of our state. And again, these are the things that we see on the other side trying to distract from the truth. Was he in cardiac arrest? Was he dead? Was it what person named T-bone, or what have you? The reality is this is just two stories from my life, which a person who lives in one of the more violent neighborhoods, chose to live in one of the more violent neighborhoods of my city, is experiencing every day. The problem is, with all of this, is that these kind of stories are all too common, with hundreds of people in our state, from Camden to Patterson to Passaic, being victims of gun violence. And the key is what will we do as United States senators to help stop that violence? Background checks is one thing.
Mr. Long, did you want to respond to this?
I've never brought up this young man, Wazen Miller, in my campaign. It was exposed by a major news publication not related to me.
This is the gentleman who died.
The 19-year-old young man who apparently stumbled into the mayor's arms, which did not happen. Did not stumble into his arms, did not die in his arms. And I find it deeply disturbing when an elected official uses the death of someone like that to parade around the country and build himself up. It's opportunism on a major scale, but it really shows a lack of judgment.